on your chin. Oh, yeah. This is the Goin Deep Show.
So have you looked at your 401k this week?
Oh my God. No, I have deliberately not. It's been a fucking weird ass week. I've been starting to collect different headlines into different kind of ways, and the one I want, I've been collecting them into certain categories.
A couple of things.
I have.
You want on squirting again, which we've talked about that subject, or it's been beat to death.
Which one?
Squirting. It was another
There's
one.
nothing wrong with it. Well, here's the thing. If you found another squirting story, or did I find it?
I shared it to our thing about another squirting story.
Well, we got our master squirters. I know I can call up 3 women right now off the top of my head that are squirt masters. They're the goddamn squirt maestros. Like the fucking Pavarotti of squirt. You know what I'm saying? They are. They're fucking squirties.
Yeah, it's only happened a couple of times with women I've been with.
Here's the thing about it with me, okay? The first couple times it happened, I was like, oh, whoa. And then I was like, okay, I have to prepare now for that. You know what I mean? So the discretion that the woman has to tell you when that shit's going to happen is very important. And I've had it where, okay, this sex session's starting, and I could tell she's going to go, and she, like, stops me. She, like, deliberately doesn't get off, but literally slides myself out. We edge to the point where she's not gonna go fucking fulls on squirt guns.
Because you got to grab a towel or some shit,
right?
You know, that little mask, that little hazmat mask, you know, with the windshield wiper blades so you can still see when it's going on. But it's kind of like the same way. Like, I don't know, nowadays when you get to be our age and you're younger than I am, there's a little more like conversation of what's going to happen, like what toys may or may not that the whole spontaneity is out of the deal, but there's a certain pathway of what's going to go down, how it's going to go down, and everything else. So
you're right.
It makes it even kind of fun because you know what's going to be happening
once it gets to the certain point. Yeah. Well, the thing is too, when I'm having some action, it's been a lot more mornings. It's before work, and there's times where we're like, we gotta get this fucking over with. We gotta get the fuck out of here. We gotta clean up and get ready and go to work. The one day we woke up, and I don't know if we slept through our fucking alarms or whatever, but we usually scoot out of the house around 6:30. 6:30 is like we're aiming for around that time. Get there just before 7. It's about a 25-minute ride. We're banging and going at it, and I feel like a piece of shit because while we were doing it, I could sense her like urgency, and I told her, I said, this isn't. I said this to her while we're
a race.
I said, this isn't a fucking race, you know. So we get up, we get done. She gets up and goes to the bathroom. I lean over and look at my fucking phone, and it's 5 after 7. We're 35 minutes late. We're from leaving.
I think it's for you. It doesn't matter probably as much if you're casually late than it does for her.
Actually, what's funny about that is for her, it's not as bad either. She likes to work with specific people there.
Okay.
So when those people get there, she wants to get there at the same time. And I think me being the less disciplined over the past probably 3 to 4 years, trying to get up on my own and doing things, I would get to work later, get out later. And now that she has to get there at that time, I'm kind of relying on her urgency to get there to kind of discipline myself and get myself back into healthier, better habits. You know what I mean? I used to work in the newspaper. I was up at 5 a.m. all the time and into the office around 6 and working and doing stuff for meetings. And you know, it's one thing getting raised Lutheran. You get a little discipline inside of you, and when you don't do the things that you have it's been kind of like brainwashed into your psyche. I think a lot of people nowadays, man, they don't have the discipline on some things. Now, don't get me wrong. I know when I need to have the discipline, and I know when that shit's done, and then the discipline goes away, and it's fucking game on. Let's have some fun.
Interesting, Lutheran.
So did you know that I was raised Lutheran?
I would not have thought Lutheran.
Yep, I was Lutheran from.
Wouldn't have went stereotypical Catholic either,
No.
but
you think with the Mexican last name that I would be.
I mean, yeah, you would think that, but I was thinking more Baptist, maybe.
One of our co-hosts, our former co-host, Dimples McDonough, had a Baptist grandfather, the Baptist preacher grandfather, I believe. I could be wrong on this, but I think she did. So the discipline and things, as far as like attendance and showing up and being there and having, and I'm very, very much so. I mean, who else could keep this podcast going on and getting really the only benefit I get out of it is hanging out with my friends. It's the only benefit I get out of it, and that's a great thing to have. I think
It is, it really is, and this is very cathartic for a lot of us. It's better than therapy, coming in here, talking, riffing, bullshitting.
Yeah, I think that kind of
nobody's going to shit their pants during this episode.
Here's what I think too. I think it upsets me when people don't see it for what it is that way. They use this as they kind of used it for selfish reasons. And the person that we're talking about,
Damn it! I thought we were off that subject.
No. Just the person that we talked about last episode. He definitely used it for his own little Tinder before Tinder. You know what I mean? And
there's been a little bit of hooking up on the show, not just with him.
Oh yeah,
with other people. I mean,
this is why I've always said, how could anybody be a celebrity and have to resist the amount of poontang that would get thrown at him? I have had pussy because of this show. I've had women who I had no business doing anything with because of this podcast. And I can show you photos. It's fucking amazing.
Destroy the evidence.
Right. So to be a real bona fide, even a fucking Z-list celebrity
podcaster
would have to no. Like even name like a celebrity that is like just your average Joe Schmo. The amount of even just attention they must get is got to be crazy. How do you resist that shit? I can barely resist some fucking hooker at the damn bar, let alone some fucking hot biatch trying to get with you.
So actually, when I mentioned podcaster, that's the interesting thing this week. The podcasters that are turning on Cheeto this week. Rogan.
Did he?
Rogan's been Rogan, Shapiro. All these guys are all of a sudden the worm is turned because they've got to be on the right side of what's going to bring their listeners in. Well, and the outrage and everything else to go along with it.
There's probably two levels to that. I think you can lie to people, and they're not going to go do the research. What they're going to do is they're going to hear what you said. They're going to think in their head what they believe. They're going to associate what they believe to what you said. They're going to think that it's real, even if it isn't. They're going to go about their business. They're not going to go digging in, finding out if it's real or not. But what does become real is when they look at their bank accounts and they go to the store and they see how much things are costing and they see how much money they've lost in their, like you said, their 401k. Those things you cannot lie about. You can't just say, oh no, you didn't lose 10 grand this week. No. And then you have to believe that, even though you're looking at the bottom line, you're looking at the number going like, oh, he's right. I didn't lose that money, I guess. It's just, you know what I mean? So
the bond market crashed. That really sent the signal, but the whole inside trader thing about it's a good time to buy.
Dude, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
That really fucked up. Granted, I bought the day before he said something, but I'm a poor boy and I only could spend so many cheeseburgers on it.
Complete market manipulation, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just
not that shit wasn't going on before, but it. So
one thing I want to say, I watched Bill Maher last night. He met with Trump. He went to the White House. I watched his monologue yesterday about it. He said, "Here's my book report on what happened."
Okay,
and he said essentially, the guy that you see on TV, the guy that does these over the top crazy things that he says, that wasn't the guy he met in the White House.
I'm sure
and he doesn't know why the guy who's in the White House doesn't. And again, I think the thing that became clear to me was when you're in front of a camera like that, it's the same way as when we're in here. I will be a fucking idiot and I'll say some over the top shit. That's what you think is going to entertain the people who are listening in. When you're real, when I say what's really on my mind, people may go, it's boring. I don't want to hear what's really on kids' mind. But if I'm in here fucking talking about jacking off this morning to some fucking crazy porn or doing some obnoxious things here or doing this or doing that, then people are like, they're living in a world where, oh, I don't get to hear that. I do that and I don't tell anybody, but he does. And that's, ooh, what is he saying? You have to amp it up a little bit and be that clown a bit. So once you've done that for however many years he's been on TV or been a celebrity and things like this, he was on Howard Stern back in the late 80s, 90s. He did that whole entertainment thing. You can't just cut that off once a camera kicks on. You have that still kind of kicking in the back of your mind.
I mentioned that movie, The Apprentice, and I thought it was going to be more about the show when he was on there. And it was before that. It's when he started out, this Roy Cohn that was the lawyer that had to do with the whole McCarthy trials and everything else, going on, routing out the communist people back during that time period. Cohn kind of taught him to use all these extra adjectives to make things sound big and beautiful, and it's going to be the best thing ever. And that's what Trump does. If he left half that shit out, he would also make more sense. He'd probably be a little more boring, and people's blood pressure wouldn't go up, but that's part of his shtick.
I think he is constantly in what is going to make good TV. He even said it when Zelensky came into the Oval Office when they were giving him you didn't thank me enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I trust the judgment of Maher. He tries to stay down the center of stuff. The fact that he even went there shows some fucking heavy balls. I mean, Trump's tried to sue his ass when he called him orangutan. Remember that? And,
oh yeah, I do.
So it was, he showed some, I don't know if I'm using this word right, levity. Would that be the right way to say? Where it's you go into, I don't think he went in trying to pitch his idea. He didn't expect it to kind of come back the opposite way. Maher's not going to come out of there mega, and he's not going to convince anybody. But we have to get to the point where, and I think this kind of applies to with even our friends that are acting like shitheads. We got to come and sit at the table, have a meal, have a little talk. We can get to a point where everything that I believe doesn't have to be the complete opposition to what you do. There's some shit in the middle. We like things in the middle. We can come to agreement and leave the political bullshit out of it and just go and hang out and still be friends. The country's so fucking divided. It's insane right now.
Well, I had one of my friends lead off their whole Facebook post the other day with, I know some of my friends might hate me, or I don't hate my friends because he's siding with everything the president's trying to do. But when you start out your conversation that way, number one, you're doing it for attention. You're doing it for competitiveness. It goes back to that clip you played about whether you either accept what you've done wrong or not.
You admit it, yeah.
Admit it. And that's the same thing. I look at what he's trying to do, and I get he's trying to take it from a business standpoint. Part of what he's doing is playing poker. It doesn't make sense. He's trying something different to make it work. But because of everyone else feeling uneasy in the panic, that's what's causing the market. If he could do the same thing, and I'm going to get off my soapbox here in a moment.
No, you're good.
We should be bringing jobs back to the United States, whether or not tariffs are raised or not.
We agree. I agree with that 100%.
It's
I think every American would agree with that. Right?
That's what everybody wants. Can we do it as affordable? And this has always been the biggest challenge. We can't do it the same way they do over in Taiwan and China and everything else to be underpaid. But that's part of, you can pay people less if you're a socialistic government and you have things provided for you and everything with that. And that's the one take that people, if we had free healthcare, you wouldn't need that as part of your pay because it's already paid for.
This is just me being completely just the dumbest of dumb human beings. Okay. I don't know what I'm fucking saying or talking about. I don't know anything.
Yes.
But how many years has it taken for whatever jobs they took from us? How long has that taken to accomplish? And if we know it and saw how they did it, why can't we understand that it may take that amount of time to get them back? And they obviously showed how it's done to take the jobs that used to be here and do it there. Why not take their playbook and use it here to kind of do the same thing instead of just saying, hey, man, we got a bunch of cheap fucking shit. And the thing that pisses me off the most is all of his products, man, they're all fucking made in China shit. Yep. You saw the Dropkick Murphys videos where they're calling the guys out and show me it. Okay, so back to what I said. Go ahead.
No. So what you're saying is exactly right. And this has been discussed heavily. this is what's creating the uncertainty, because it could take 3 or 4 years just to retool a plan or to get the hiring, the staff, and everything else. At that point, we might be underneath a different regime, a different presidency. It could go in a totally different direction.
It didn't even occur to me.
So
that's why he's going to get a third term, man.
Well, yeah. You notice I said it might get a different regime, you know, and again, Obama might come out and run against him. So
here's the thing about this guy. Once they get rid of all the immigrants, once all the baby boomers are dead, and all the fucking little kids and millennials and all these little ones who don't want to fucking work, who is going to work in these factories?
Exactly.
Who is going to work there?
We've driven it away. And speaking about getting rid of, they still have to get the one guy back that they illegally arrested, shipped over. Now, granted, he's not a naturalized citizen. He just had a court deal that said he can't be deported to El Salvador.
It was to protect him, wasn't it? It was like some type of
protect him, from the gang. So who knows? He could be dead
He's
right now.
He's probably dead, yeah.
Yeah. So
the best thing, one of the best jokes I heard, and it was from, one from Maher, was, we can't get this guy back from El Salvador, but we can bring the fucking people back from space.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, it took a little bit of time on SpaceX. So Tesla actually did, Musk actually, they had a bump in sales because he's starting to go against. So it's just been a lot to talk about anytime you want on politics.
Here's the thing, though.
But the more you hear that, the less you heard about the whole thing with Ukraine. You're not hearing about Israel. You're not hearing
That's
about
old news now. It's like the Panama Canal. It's like the thing last night, too. Steve Bannon was on Real Time. And he was adamant that Trump was going to get a third term. He was like, "You watch." He goes, January 20th, 2029. He will be president. I'm looking at the guy. Like, are you out of your mind? Maher had a constitution. He went right to the page, read right from it. Like, what loopholes is it? It's like fucking what the hell? How are they going to fucking do this shit?
So Vance could run. If Vance won, he could then
he's so unpopular.
He would relinquish the presidency to Trump.
Why would you do that?
I know.
At that point, he'll be actually an age where he could be. What is he, like 40 years old right now?
Yeah, he'll be off the couch. He won't be fucking that little between the cushions.
That's a wrap from the dark corners of the Goin Deep Show. Smash that subscribe button like it owes you money. Visit us anytime at thegds.com. On behalf of the kid and the usual suspects, we appreciate your ears and remind you life's short, so go deep.